Did the El Salvador government present any evidence that he was MS-13?
I do not know.
Did they, Mark?
I don't believe anybody's presented evidence. There's lots of.
Isn't that a little bit eerie that you guys are saying he should be sent to Gitmo or CCOT?
But you want to go through due process. So due process is going to a court.
No, it doesn't mean going through a court. A due process can be as simple as getting a notice in the mail. All right, this is going to be a really interesting video. I just got off of a semi-heated debate panel where multiple Trump voters called in and tried to challenge me over the Trump admin, over Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia, over the due process violations that Trump has imposed over the past 100 days. And it does get a little bit fiery at points. Now, this was hosted by Mark Halperin on his two-way TV platform. I'll link that in the description below. And we talked for about an hour, but when his supporters got to call in at the end, most of them were Trump voters, we got into it a little bit. I want to show you guys this. I want your raw opinion on how you think I did. Make sure you drop a like, drop some blue hearts if you support me going into these spaces, spreading our ideas. And again, watch until the end. Let me know how you think I did, how I could have done better. It really is an interesting conversation, in my opinion. Check it out.
I'm in South Carolina, three-time Trump voter.
Yeah.
Lean towards just kind of the pure MAGA, America First agenda. And I actually really wasn't going to raise my hand, but I heard Adam, you say, and this has been kind of on probably everyone's mind, that is similar, mindedness to me. But you said that MAGA or Republicans, it's just a talking point that we say Democrats like criminals. And you kept talking about Garcia, and Mark said something about, stop calling him Kilmar his first name, call him a thug. And you said, what has he been convicted of? Well, a few things. One, we were called Nazis, MAGA supporters, for the last few years. We were called many other things. I wasn't convicted of anything. So you don't have to be convicted to call someone a thug. You can look at their record. But it's not just Garcia. Anthony has they have like $900,000 they raised for him, and he stabbed a kid and killed him. George Floyd, Luigi Mangione. I'm trying to think of someone that you guys prop up or support that is actually a good person. Like, you guys don't stand for, not you, sorry, your leaders in your party don't stand for an 11-year-old kid with cancer. I'm sure that you would, so I'm not aiming that at you, but I'm just, who is out there that you guys actually, it's like a cause that you guys have stood up in?
Can I ask a question?
Lindsay, it's a great question. Now Adam's going to ask you one. Go ahead, Adam.
Well, I want to respond to your question with a question. Is it fair if I call, okay, so I'll say this. I will call Kilmar Abrego Garcia a thug if you say that someone with 34 felony convictions who's been found liable of sexual assault is also a thug. So if Kilmar hasn't been convicted, does having 34 felony convictions make you a thug?
Do I think Donald Trump is a thug because of the 34 convictions?
If you're going to use what somebody's done, whether it's being held liable for sexual assault or convictions, then yeah, does that meet your standard?
I mean, the only things I know about him are what we've kind of seen, other than him being a Maryland man, which has been repeated over and over. He's been twice in court. He said he was worried about a rival gang. Why are you worried about a rival gang if you're not in a gang? There's several things. Two things on his wife. Trump has a whole record of good things. So no, I don't actually care about any of those 34 counts. They were all bogus. I mean, there might be something to one of them, but
I mean, his own lawyers handpicked the jury.
But that's fine if you do. I just don't think
I don't know if I'd call Trump a thug, but I mean, his own.
You're talking about a president of the United States and illegal, someone who allegedly committed crimes.
Yeah.
Which one was convicted of 34 counts? Trump's own lawyers handpicked that jury through the process of voir dire, and now people are saying the entire trial was rigged when a jury of Trump's peers convicted him. And what was Kilmar convicted of? You guys can't say anything. I'm saying Kilmar because I've just been doing a bunch of research about this. He's not my friend or whatever. I see Mark laughing over there. But I'm telling you, Abrego Garcia had a bond hearing in 2019, and the Trump admin gave him, not the Trump admin, but an immigration judge, he got a work permit and was able to go back and work for 6 years. So if this dude is an MS-13 wife-beating gang member, then why did the Trump admin allow him to walk around? Or
we don't know, but you could say they didn't know at the time all those things, presumably. But
or maybe a bond hearing where a disgraced
cop
I
want
to just try to focus, if we can, Lindsay and Adam, on the question I think you were asking, if I understood it correctly, which is this, one of my goals for this show and this platform is to try to eliminate the sources of tension that are really just kind of like spiraled out of control, right? And to have deeper understanding on both sides. So one thing, Adam, that I know you know because you're very observant, very smart, Lindsay speaks for tens of millions when she says your party glorifies and celebrates a lot of bad people for the sake of some principle, sometimes hard to discern, sometimes easier to discern, and that it would be more comforting to them if you all did not praise people simply because of the symbolism. Is that fair, Lindsay?
That's fair. I guess my question was, is there someone that you guys, like something happens to Tesla when Shapiro's house got, set ablaze. Vance, everyone was out there, senators, congressmen, condemning everything.
Right. The Tesla thing's a great example, right? There are not a lot of Democrats denouncing it, and people in the media cover it like it's a spectacle rather than it's a terrorist attack, which is the way they would cover it if these things were happening to someone on the left. So are you outraged at the Tesla attacks? I think you probably are.
So you don't think Democratic politicians are condemning political violence when it comes to Tesla? And let me
I think Ro Khanna and maybe one other person.
Yeah, I didn't hear very many do it.
Okay, so I'm gonna give an answer without pivoting. And Lindsay, sorry for going debate mode on you with my first answer. I didn't mean to like pose a question back.
That's fine.
It's all right,
But
totally fine.
I'm not gonna pivot and talk about like Nancy Pelosi's husband getting the shit beat out of him, and Trump. I'm not gonna bring any of this stuff up or any of the insane rhetoric. I will say that I think our party does have a proclivity to sometimes latch on to figures over the symbolism. Like, I'm not going to sit here and defend George Floyd, but do I think that there is some downstream systemic racism? Yes. And then what was the main question again? One more time. Sorry.
I mean, I'm just kind of looking for someone that you guys have your party and the leaders of your party have gotten out in the streets and shouted for that was not a alleged or a convicted criminal or one of a million other things that are not on the high side of, someone that, survived a, let's say Jocelyn Ungary's family and sort of like that thing. So where is
Trayvon
someone
Martin?
you guys have supported?
What did Trayvon Martin do?
Hands up. No, that's your answer is Trayvon Martin?
Is that a bad one? Wasn't he like 16 with a bag of Skittles?
I think there's a debate over that one a little bit, but I mean, that's an answer, I guess.
Really? Wait a minute. You think Trayvon Martin, Zimmerman was justified in shooting Martin? He took a bag of Skittles out of his pocket at him. Why did I read that from chat? Sorry.
What did you say?
Confused me. We're not going to solve that, and I didn't cover it enough at the time to know. So, Lindsay, thank you. I don't feel this was a perfect exchange, but I found it helpful and interesting, and grateful to you always for coming on.
Thank you, Lindsay. I'm sorry.
All right. No need to be sorry. We're doing our best. This is live. You're co-hosting and color commentating. All right, Mr. Wells, welcome in. After you unmute, tell folks who don't know where you are what's on your mind. For Adam Mockler.
Good evening, Mark and Adam. Anthony Wells. I live in the capital of South America and Central America and the Caribbean, aka Miami. So immigration is very important to me because my wife was born and raised in Venezuela and she's a nationalized citizen. So Adam, when you talk about due process means you have to go through the court system, and these people who are illegal are here illegally. So they've broken the law. Don't look away like that, Adam. Come on.
No, I'm listening.
You have to admit,
He's listening. He's listening. He's multitasking, but he's listening.
The due process is they go to an immigration court, which the system is broken. You have over 15 million illegal immigrants in the country. It's broken. And yes, they sent him to the wrong country, which is wrong. But he had not one, but I think two issues where they were supposed to deport him. And we don't know if it was a Trump administrator or a holdover from Obama. And I'm going to go back to Mark. I voted for Obama twice. Back in 2008 and 2012. But then I think, Mark, you had me on a couple weeks ago when we talked about tariffs, and I brought up about Italy and wine and stuff. But I'm also a registered Democrat, but the party lost me in 2016 when they split the delegates so that Bernie Sanders wouldn't win. And so that right there caused the rift. But deportation, I don't think, yes, it was wrong they sent him to his home country because he claimed he was a gang member. So, when you come, you try to file for
it wasn't wrong, it was illegal.
Okay, it's illegal.
Say that Trump admin illegally deported him. And you're also implying that due process necessarily means a whole court hearing. There are non-judicial ways of due process. There are ways to protect people's rights without putting them through a complete court hearing.
I don't, but immigration, you have to go through the process, right? And the process is going through an immigration court hearing.
He did already go through an immigration court hearing.
And then he lied, because if you're going to claim asylum, people claim asylum, if they claim that they're also a gang member, that's a strike 3. You're out.
He didn't claim asylum. He didn't claim asylum. A withholding order of removal is a few steps above asylum.
Adam, even worse.
No, it's better.
Right. No, it's not. He was here illegally. He was, several charges against him. And yes, Trump's team sent him back to his home country. They should have sent him to Gitmo. Would Gitmo work? Him living in a tent in Cuba?
If he got due process, if he got a proper notice, if he got the proper, yes, then that's fine.
You don't find, Adam, these people run.
Wait. What evidence is there that he's an MS-13 gang member? Can you tell me the evidence right now? Where was he convicted? El Salvador said 0 evidence. Did the U.S. government provide any evidence? Was there any conviction?
Okay.
There was no conviction. But
okay, so Anthony is currently basing his argument. He just said he wants to send Kilmer to Gitmo. And when I pressed him and said, what evidence do you have? You don't have any. Isn't that a little bit eerie?
Didn't he claim on his restraining order from being deported that he was a gang member and he felt his life would be threatened if he went back to his home country?
He felt his life would be threatened because his mom's shop was being threatened by a rival gang, not because he was a gang member. That was never demonstrated. Okay. Actually, did the El Salvador government present any evidence that he was MS-13?
I do not know.
Did they, Mark?
I don't believe anybody's presented evidence. There's lots of.
Isn't that a little bit eerie that you guys are saying he should be sent to Gitmo or CCOT?
But you want to go through due process. So due process is going to a court.
No, it doesn't mean going through a court. A due process can be as simple as getting a notice in the mail.
You wouldn't be able to find him, Adam. Come on, let's be realistic.
Say that again? I didn't hear that.
Let's be realistic. You wouldn't find him because a lot of these people who showed up at the board, they were like, here's a piece of paper, here's your court date. Look at the statistics. How many of them show up for that court date?
Okay, wait. Kilmer.
Wait.
Listen, Kilmer Abrego Garcia checked in at the top of every year with the immigration forces. He checked in at the top of every year. He was known for being right on time. He actually just did it in January. So the idea that he would run is absurd. You guys are arguing. You guys have both conceded. Sorry, and I'm not really going after you, Mark. You've conceded, Anthony, that you have no evidence from either the U.S. government or the El Salvador government that he's MS-13. You've repeatedly said that he didn't get a conviction.
I think you'd have to investigate what happened in Tennessee.
That's called due process. Thank you. You just made my argument.
But Adam, see, I don't agree because he's in the country illegally. We don't need to convict him of any crime to expel him from the
investigate what
country.
happened after.
No,
sorry. No, he's here illegally.
He's here illegally. If he can't go to El Salvador, they should have sent him someplace else.
Okay, him being here illegally doesn't mean he's deprived of due process. Article 5 of the Constitution says.
Adam, no, you're dying on that hill.
Wait. Do you think that illegal immigrants deserve due process, Anthony?
To a certain point.
What do you mean to a certain point?
Which means, they have certain, as you said, the Constitution and the Supreme Court says people have rights. You don't have to be a U.S. citizen to have rights, which is the greatness, this is why people want to come to the U.S. because of the freedoms we have. But if you take advantage of those freedoms, and you go to court and they tell you, okay, here's your deportation notice, even though later a court says, well, no, we can't send you back to your home because you feel threatened for your life, you still have those, deportation notices.
That wasn't a coherent argument as to why an illegal immigrant should be deported with no due process. You just actually admitted that he should have due process to some extent. Was he afforded that to some extent? Was he afforded a notice or anything?
He went to court and they
and what did the court say? He gets a withholding order of removal to one country.
One country
that he was deported to.
His home country. So then, where are you going to send him? I say we send
Can I just clarify? The reason why he was illegally sent to El Salvador, and that one country he wasn't supposed to be sent to, is because the Trump admin made a mistake of not giving him the due process. If they would have gone through the proper channels, given him a notice, allowed him to prep his documents, then he could have been sent to Gitmo, and that would have been different. But I will say,
I give you that because the Trump administration is trying to get wins.
Anthony, can we agree that if someone should be sent to Gitmo or CCOT, we should maybe have a proof that they're an MS-13 gang member beyond a disgraced former cop?
They're here illegally.
That doesn't mean
No, that's part of the that's your strike there, and you broke the law.
Yeah. All right,
For maybe
Adam,
Gitmo.
Anthony's acknowledged
Yeah.
that people here illegally are entitled to some sort of due process. He's acknowledged that.
Mhm.
Would you acknowledge that at this point, it's the view of many, not your view perhaps, but it's the view of many of your fellow countrymen and women, that spending more money engaging in extensive due process and hand-wringing over mistakes that are made in the process of trying to correct the situation is not something that gets them super excited?
No serious Democrat is arguing for 15 million trials, like JD Vance said. JD Vance, that's a straw man. No serious Democrat is arguing for extensive. You use the word extensive.
Well, but let me ask you this. He was here illegally. Do you think he should be expelled from the United States?
I think that if he was given a notice and an opportunity to respond to that notice.
Yeah, but do you think he should be expelled from the United States if they decided, yes, he's here? There's no dispute. He was here illegally, right?
If he was here illegally, then yeah, we have every right to deport him.
Okay,
so not illegally. Deport him through the proper, give him due process.
So what would that have looked like if it had been done correctly?
You could either give him a notice or an opportunity to respond. Now, he had already had the withholding order of removal from a judge in 2019.
Correct.
So if you give him the proper notice, he can present that withholding order of removal so that he's not deported to the one country he's not supposed to be deported to. My contention is he wasn't given the notice. He wasn't given an opportunity to respond. He was deported before he was able to show.
But if they'd flown him to Guatemala the same day they flew him to El Salvador, and the Guatemalans put him in prison, what would your position be?
That the Trump administration did everything right. We wouldn't be hearing about this story because that means the Trump admin was using due process.
Well, but Guatemalans put him in prison. He didn't commit a crime.
I mean, he's in the jurisdiction of another country at that point. I don't.
But wouldn't you say the United States shouldn't have sent him to Guatemala without some assurances that they wouldn't put him in prison?
You're presupposing that he was found to be an MS-13 gang member. I mean,
No, I'm not. I'm saying under the exact circumstances.
If they sent him to Guatemala, then yeah, and he went straight to a prison, that would be bad, actually, yeah. But I wouldn't call it illegal, no. Morally, that'd be bad, but illegally, no. There's a difference between me morally thinking you shouldn't send him into a prison and me saying the Trump admin illegally violated a withholding order of removal.
Right. Okay. Anthony, thank you. Grateful to you for the conversation.
I told you that was an interesting one. I told you I got into it with multiple people. I don't know why I apologize, but I felt bad that I used Mark's platform to then just argue directly with his supporters. But it turned out well. I do want to know what you guys think about that. Let me know in the comment section below. Again, make sure you drop a like, subscribe to support the ecosystem. I'll be posting more and more debates. I've got another Jubilee debate coming soon. We did another Jubilee debate about Kilmar, Armando, Obrego, Garcia. Be on the lookout for that. Love you guys and peace out.